The 500 Section Lounge is a proud member of the Lounge Media Group. Welcome to the 500 Section Lounge. Richey, Matt, what a glorious day we have going on today. Wouldn't you agree?
Beautiful day. The beautiful day is just going to continue to get better and better, Sam. I can't wait. It's great to see you fellas again back in the lounge.
Matt, this has been one of those days that I've been looking forward to this time of recording for basically the whole time we knew it was going to happen.
But even before, I mean, until I saw him sit down in the chair, I didn't know if it was really going to happen.
Well, we're just going to bring it right away. We're not even going to talk for a minute before we get our guest, because we are extremely honored to have one of Matt, Richey. You've listened, but Matt and I kind of grew up with the Bob and Tom show, and we are so honored to have Bob Kevoian on. Bob, thanks so much for joining us in the lounge tonight.
My pleasure. Nice to be in the lounge.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's comforting. We've been told it's pretty cozy, so hopefully you don't get too chafed by the velvety feel of the lounge.
I've been through a lot of stuff being interviewed, so this might be pretty easy.
Okay.
I would say, can I jump out with my question that I've had for about?
Go right ahead.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
So in another life, I worked at a HVAC company that used to do installations, and when you first start, everybody brags about whose house they had worked on in the past. One of them was yours, one of your old houses, and I have to ask, did you have a statue that opened a secret door in your house?
I do. It's a bust of a bust, and you have to turn the right nipple in order to open a secret door.
And you just answered the second part.
I am in that door. I'm behind that door right now. I had to open it in order to get in here to speak with you gentlemen.
That is so, Matt, your day has just been made, hasn't it?
I am going to have to text a few people here in a little bit and confirm that rumor was true.
So do you have to?
I trumped Bruce Wayne. He
Yes.
had I believe the Shakespeare statue.
Yeah.
I trumped him.
You just give it a good twist. Opens right up.
It works just beautifully.
Now, does it ever get stuck, or is it pretty slippery and slips right open?
No, it's got some wear on it.
Okay, years of wear.
Yes.
So we were talking. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all true. All true. Every bit.
Beautiful. Yeah, you just made his day, because that was the first thing. Yeah, he's gonna walk away now.
See, Matt.
So we were talking a little bit off before we started that you said you guys started. Now, was it you and Tom that started as a music show?
It was we were supposed to be when they hired us, it was in 1983, and Q95 had a 5-song in a row guarantee, and they played 10 songs an hour, which gave us very little time to make the funny. And eventually it became 9 songs, then 8, 7, 6, and so on. Before you know it, we were just playing our stuff, and it was a good move.
Well, and how quickly did that happen? Like, how quickly did they realize that people wanted to hear you guys more than just the music?
It took about, I want to say, 2 years, maybe.
So not as long as I thought, but still kind of slow.
Slowly peel away. No, it was Q95 was a album rock station, and what made them put them on the map was the great classic rock that they played. So.
Yeah,
we were just a little cherry on top, and eventually we became the whole sundae.
Wow, and we were talking that we're Richey and I are from the area where the first radio station syndicated you. What was that? I mean, how did that go about? Like when it started, that you guys were growing, you're getting a following, you're getting to the point where people wanted to hear you outside of just the Indy area or the radius that Q95 could get. What process was that? How quickly did those start syndicating?
Well, the syndication happened after we found out that we were the most stolen from radio show in America. All of the bits and songs that we were doing, people were buying our albums and then playing live on the air at their radio stations around the country. So we figured, well, if people like us that much, maybe we should try to syndicate. And we started locally into Fort Wayne and Evansville, and it slowly moved across borders into Ohio, Missouri, up into Michigan, and eventually across the United States.
That's all.
And that was 1995 when that all took place.
Well, I can remember the first time I was in Florida on vacation, and we're flipping through channels on the way to somewhere, and it's like, hold on, wait, is that? and yeah, I just always like the idea of like somebody in Baltimore singing "Lord Help Our Colts" and somebody in New York coming up with "Boom Baby," and just always kind of made me smile a little bit.
Very true. Yeah.
I can tell you, before the era of like the internet, to where you could do a lot of searching and stuff, like the internet was there, but like in like 2004, I drove a truck for my job, and I had to print out the different radio channels that had Bob and Tom on it, because I would flip as I made my way up to Detroit. I would flip channels to be able to maintain the Bob and Tom show. And I was pissed when it would rain or something and the radio wouldn't come in.
Yeah. And we were not on, I don't think we were on Detroit at the time. So once you got there was
yeah.
Kind of
Luckily I didn't go directly into Detroit. I kind of skimmed around and went to the northern side, the Farmington Hills. So there were some that were still kind of those satellite ones that would reach to where I was going. So sometimes it was staticky, but I was still making you guys out. So,
so Bob
had best thing we ever did. Yeah. Going to the syndication, and it got us into the Hall of Fame. So
yeah, it sure did. Cool. Go ahead there, Rich.
Who's one of the funniest guests that you've had come on your show? I know that you've had a lot of great ones, but if you had to narrow it down, and why?
The first one that pops into mind every time is Brad Garrett. Brad Garrett, you didn't know what you were getting. He was as spontaneous a comic as I've ever met. And he kept us on the edge of our seat all morning long. He was, and still is, one of the funniest guys you've ever met.
Did you have to be on the dump button for him?
No, he was never dirty. He was just off the wall, completely off the wall. And he kept us smiling all morning long.
It's always a great one where you can, you've got that guest coming in that's going to just make you happy the whole time that you're there,
Oh yeah. When you find out that Greg's going to be in town, or Brad's going to be in town, and it's, wow, I can't wait till he comes on the program.
Well, one of the shows that I always knew was going to be special was when Tim Wilson was on. When you heard his voice, and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to sit back and relax here and listen to some good music.
We actually did a show with Greg Warren, and we started talking about our favorite part, or at least us guys here. And and Greg did a really good rendition of it, was the SEC where he did Bobby Bowden. And oh my goodness, it's just every once in a while Matt will just go, yeah, he did, and it's just
yeah. Tim was one of a kind. He was a true Southern gentleman, and he just did this one bit about the different types of Southern accents that just was spot on and as funny as could be. And he is still to this day missed.
Oh, for sure.
Great comic. Great comic.
Can you talk a little bit about that day where how did that day go for you guys when you found out he passed?
Well, I was with my wife. We were on vacation in Arizona. Okay. Everyone else was back at the studio, and we were just stunned. It was like, man, he's so young. It's just shocking. And we walked around in a daze for the remainder of our vacation. We just didn't know what to do. I mean, it was such tragic news. And we eventually did a nice tribute to Tim at the Paramount Theater in Anderson. And it was a very great evening. Sad evening, but a great evening to help Tim and his family.
Yeah. And that's one of those that you're at such a loss because you lose a friend like that, but then you're sitting there celebrating just the amazing work that he was able to do while he was with us. And at least we have that to be able to, you know, fall back on and just appreciate the brilliance that he was. And I will say he was brilliant. Like that was his, he was so funny. He was captivating. He had that deep voice that would just grab your attention and you wanted to listen to him. And then he was just funny as all get out on top of it.
Absolutely. And a very, very intelligent man as well. He knew a lot, and he could turn it into gold every time he spoke.
I still love the Uncle BS. What was it?
Yep.
One Day BC or whatever. I loved that one. I
Yeah.
was up to my knees in Dr. Pepper.
And there are those Reno Collier is continuing the Uncle BS, which is great because it was a wonderful piece of comedy.
Well, and what kind of tribute that is to Tim because of, you know, him picking it up and carrying it with him, you know, and doing that too. Such a great. I miss him a lot.
Good man. I know. Me too.
Go ahead, guys. I don't want to be taking it all.
It's okay, Sam. It's okay. I know how you feel. I get it. So what was prior to 1983 starting it up with Bob and Tom? What were you doing beforehand, and what led to this getting together on the radio station?
I started radio in 1979 in Petoskey, Michigan, at a beautiful music station. I had been working with a group called the Young Americans up in Petoskey. Did summer stock musicals, 4 of them every summer, and I loved the area so much I decided to move there. And I was a sound engineer and did a lot of stuff for the Young Americans, a bunch of different things. But I figured, what the heck, I know how to, you know, operate a control board and run this and that. So I walked into a radio station asking if they needed someone to spin records for their DJs. And a guy named Gary Buffington, who was the general manager there at the time, said, the DJs do that themselves. Would you like to be a DJ? And I said, well, sure. What do I have to do? And he gave me some Associated Press news, went into a production room, recorded it, gave him the tape, and he called me the next day, and I got hired as a DJ at Michigan's beautiful North, WMBN. And I did that for a year. Tom, I met in 1980. I was tending bar in the evening because local beautiful music didn't pay that well. So I met Tom and got him a gig at our AM station, which was a kind of a classic hits, oldies kind of deal. And we started, we had shifts. I worked 10 to 3, Tom worked 3 to 7, and we would start, the better we got to know each other, Tom would come in early and I would stay late, and we'd do this little kind of Bob and Tom thing from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. It just depends on what we had going on. And we were goofing around, and our general manager didn't care for our antics on the air and told us that we had better cool it down. We're a news station, we're a music station. We don't want any of this joking. So
there's no room for jokes here.
No, there's no jokes on my show. And that eventually led us to a station across the street, WJML, where Tom and I started doing mornings together. And our ratings were so good that our competitors were making tapes of us and sending them out to radio conventions around the country to get us out of the market because we were getting all the advertising dollars.
That is a story I had heard, and I wasn't sure if that was the truth or if that was just a little embellished.
Wow.
It is all true. And we, our tapes ended up at this radio convention in Miami. And the next, we're getting phone calls from all over the country asking for tapes of me and Tom doing what we do, and eventually led to being hired in Indianapolis at Q95 WFBQ. Wow. And that was, we got here for 2 weeks, got to know the city a little bit. Took me a year to figure out how the city worked. But we were here for 2 weeks, listening, meeting people, and went on the air March 7th in 1983.
Man.
Sorry, I've got a kid asking me a question, so go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just, do you ever look back and, I mean, are you happy with the retirement? Is it something that you're like, man, I wish I could do it a little bit here and there? Or is it just kind of something you're loving the retired life?
No, I'm truly loving retirement. It's great after working, 35 years, getting up before everybody else does, and being ready to wake everybody else up. It takes a toll on you. And I wanted to do some stuff before I get called home. So we've seen a lot of stuff and enjoyed a lot of great moments, and it's been good.
Well, I can tell you, I follow you on Twitter, and I saw you made an announcement that you were making a guest appearance on Bob and Tom, and I'm like, how many people can say that they're making a guest appearance on a show that has their name on it?
Yeah, this happened once before. I filled in for Tom once, and I said it's really weird being a guest on a show with my name on it, and it's true. It's kind of weird, but it's been a change of the guard. There's some new faces there. Tom, Chick, and Christy have held it down perfectly and now you got Josh and Willie and all these other great folks on the air with them, and the legend continues for them. But for me, I have made my way to the retirement road, and it's a lot of fun. So
Well,
I have no regrets.
Yeah,
I looked and I didn't realize it had already been 8 years since you were.
Yeah, I retired in 2015.
wow. It doesn't seem like that long.
No.
No, it doesn't. It's gone by very fast.
Well, and you find out, and I know we've all talked about it, but like as you get older, time flies by quicker, and I've got the theory that it's because you've experienced so much time that a year doesn't seem like as much as it used to when you're younger, because you only had 20 years past. Now that I'm 40, almost 44, a year is nothing compared to what it was. 2 weeks certainly isn't. Doesn't seem like I can do anything.
The longest year of your life is when you turn 20.
Yeah.
Then you have that one long year before you can legally go buy some beer.
There's the keyword, legally.
Yeah, you got that long year of forgetting
legally.
your
I
ID.
just do it legally. I know everybody has it, but to be able to walk in and show them ID and say, "Yeah, give it to me," is it's a great moment in your life. But after that, it goes so damn fast. Next thing you know, you're staring down retirement, and it just goes so quickly.
So let's talk about what you excuse me, what you announced on your guest appearance. You announced that you were diagnosed with cancer. Can you kind of talk about how you came to the point where you're like, I need to see a doctor, things just aren't right?
Well, that's just it. I do an annual physical every year, and during an x-ray, I do a chest x-ray. I'm a former smoker, and I do that every year by request of the doctor. And this last year, they found a spot that wasn't there before. And so we had it checked, and we went through a number of different tests. And next thing you know, the doctor tells me that we have some growth in the stomach, and I have a stomach cancer that needs to be removed. And so that's the deal. We decided to share it with everyone because it's a road that we had never been down, have no idea what to expect. So I figured once we got this going, why not share to the people who may have this problem kind of an inside look as to what could possibly happen.
Yeah. Now, have they given you a diagnosis of what stage you're at or anything like that?
I'm at stage 3, which is a curable stage. And I've gone through 5 weeks of radiation, 5.5 weeks. I take that back. 5 weeks of chemo, 5.5 weeks of radiation to shrink it. And then once it's shrunk, I find out on the 21st of June what the next step will be. And it will probably be surgery to have that removed and then heal up and move on.
Okay. Well, I know I shared when I reached out that our friend, the mayor of Uranus, he has a place in Anderson.
I know. I have to admit, when you mentioned that, my wife and I did a Route 66, and I have to admit, I laughed out loud when we were driving down Route 66, and there it is, Uranus. And it was, come into Uranus to get fudge. That I almost rolled off the highway, but it was pretty spectacular. When you mentioned that, it's like, oh yeah, he is a smart man. I'm sure he and his diagnosis is sad, but it's sad for anyone.
Well, and they said he was at stage 4 because of the size of the tumor. They still were very optimistic, and he said after the first rounds of radiation or of chemo that it was about 75% killed off, but they still have to do the rest of the radiation and chemo. And it's,
and sometimes they have to go in and take it out. Yeah,
which they did already. They took it out. They gave him some time to heal before they started the chemo and the radiation. But he said as he gets closer to the end of radiation, the worse it's going to get, because they just have to keep cooking the same spot over and over.
Yeah.
It's basically like burning a burn, it just keeps getting worse. And but he's very optimistic, much like you, that hey, it's going to come out okay, and it's just a matter
that's what we feel it's going to be. They go in there, take it out, and that's the end. And that's what we're thinking, how everything will wrap up there, and we'll move on with our lives.
Well, and I was happy to see you posted that your mustache had made it through the treatments. So that was
that was my biggest fear. Yeah, because we went in there, and the part of the deal, you have to go through a little, I guess, course. They'll tell you what they think will happen to you and what to expect. And everyone said you're going to lose your hair, and I prepared for that. And my chemo did not affect my hair, and I was thrilled.
Now, how long have you had the mustache?
It started June 18th, 1969, when I graduated from high school.
Wow. That's 10 years older than I am, Bob, period.
So you're 44 then.
I'll be 44 in August. Yes.
Well, my mustache will be 54 in 2 days.
Yep.
So, on the 18th. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I've had it forever, and that was my big fear, that it was gonna fall off my face, and people were gonna see who I really was. So
you haven't seen that skin for 54 years, huh?
No,
all right.
Has it always been that bushy, or do you trim it down a little to where it gets kind of short?
But if not, I'd have that walrus look about me, and I got to keep it neat. My wife was hoping it would fall off, but she wanted to see what I looked like without it. So
I was going to say, she's only seen pictures from high school. She wants to see the real deal, and then
she has not seen it at all.
Well, I was wondering how long you could walk around before the first person would even put 2 and 2 together and go, "Oh, that looks like okay."
Well, I would probably wear a burqa, because I don't think people are ready for that. So
I want to go back to, you were talking about how radio stations and people were taking your stuff and using your guys's, bits and stuff. Finally, you started doing albums and putting out albums. The one thing that a lot of people probably don't realize unless they've been around Bob and Tom for so long is you guys always did that for charity.
Yep. Absolutely.
What was the drive behind that? Was it everybody was all in on that and agreeing on that, or was it just kind of, you figured you were going to make money elsewhere? You didn't need it for the albums.
Well, we just we wanted to donate. We had all this stuff that we said, hey, why don't we put an album together and we'll donate to a charity. And the first charity we chose was the Humane Society, but we had a bit called Burger Pony that they frowned upon and said, no, we don't think we can take it unless you remove that from the album. We said, no, it's one of our funnier bits, so we're going to leave it on. They said, well, we can't take your money. So we went in search of another charity and ended up getting involved with Children's Wish and many other charities after that. It became quite successful. We raised millions of dollars for many charities through central Indiana.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. And like I said, I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that, especially if they're, I say new, within 10 years maybe of catching on to Bob and Tom, that they don't realize that, you guys made, I don't even know how many albums you guys have put out, but like it's many.
I want to say it's over 50.
Yeah.
We at one point were putting out 2 albums a year, one at Christmas and then one around the Indianapolis 500. And we did that for quite a while. But yeah, we made a lot of albums, and we generated tons of cash for charities.
That's awesome.
All around us. Yeah.
I was gonna think I think I had to buy Checkered Past a second time because I played it so much on the around May especially.
Wrap the tape around the playhead. Is that what happened?
Well, and something else you guys always did too was just, like the Proctober stuff and just the awareness stuff that, not a lot of people were doing, and just normalizing, making sure people take care of themselves.
I was gonna say, Bob, you were ahead of the trend, and like now they're doing all that.
Fact,
everybody's doing it.
I think we actually coined the phrase Proctober.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I just got it.
Yeah.
So you know.
Wow. Took you this long, huh?
It wasn't the dentist again, was it?
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
So yeah, I mean, I love that that you guys, you're always, you guys are there having fun. I mean, you that was your job. You were to make people laugh, do funny things, have fun with one another while you're on the show and everything. But then you're making people aware too, and I think that's, the one thing a lot of people have to, realize, whether, it's a serious matter. Cancer is very serious, but you can still have a funny element to it, because everything has a funny element to it. It's just a matter of whether you can accept it.
I've always been a positive person, and I like a good laugh here, there, and everywhere. And it doesn't matter the situation. When you're diagnosed with cancer, doesn't mean you lose your sense of humor.
Right.
And it's like, well, let's take the high road here and have a little fun. And that's why we did the podcast, to explain what could happen, and also that, just because you have cancer, it's not going to change you to somebody else. I mean, you are who you are, and if you're a happy person, you're going to remain happy. You just, now you have to go to the doctor a little more often. But it's just our way of saying, you know what, you're not going to change. You're going to be you. You're just going to have cancer, and they're going to take it out, and you're going to move on. So
has there been
just kind of share that road?
Has there been anything? I mean, granted, you get that diagnosis, it's not the funnest thing, but has there been a moment? Has it been a moment that you were like, this sucks? Why me? Have you said why me at any point?
No. When we first got it, my wife and I were just stunned. We stared at each other, just had no words coming out, just could not believe what we just found out. And then I forget who I told. I said, guess what? I've been diagnosed with cancer. And when you say it out loud, it becomes real.
Right.
And that's when it really hit me. When I forget who I was, but it just, wow, that just made it as real as possible. And let's deal with it. And so we did the podcast to share our journey, because we had no idea what to expect. Honest to God, we were just stunned. So what do we do next? And we did not know. Then we've got phone calls from the cancer center, and they told us what our next step would be. And we figured, well, let's share these steps with someone who just found out, like we did, what to expect. And I luckily I took the chemo and radiation better than I guess most people do. There are many people who, I mean, they lose their hair right away. I didn't lose any. And cancer is different for each and every individual. It's going to be a different treatment. My treatment is different than someone else's. It's all designed around you to attack what you have.
Yeah.
And that was stuff I never even thought of. I mean, but you learn this stuff as you go along, and you deal with it and move forward and hopefully cure this thing. And that's what my doctors have told me, that this is a curable cancer, and we're going with that assumption.
Well, and I would think, knowing, certain people, and like, Louis, the mayor of Uranus,
Yep.
my uncle, who was diagnosed, they never said, if I beat this, it's when I beat this.
Exactly.
I think it has to do with a certain mentality too. Now, it's not that the mentality is going to beat it, but that gives you the wherewithal to say, okay, yes, I know this is serious, but you know what? We're going to take this and we're going to beat it. We're going to kick cancer's ass, so to speak. We're going to knock it out of the park, and eventually I'll be back to the way I was.
Yep. That's exactly the way we're approaching it. And I'm guessing sometime I'm not sure exactly when the surgery will take place, but hopefully about a month or so after recovery, I'll be out and about and looking in the rearview mirror at cancer.
Well, I want to, at this point, once you and Louis have beat this, I would love to have you come to Uranus in Anderson, and we do a show there with both of you.
Luckily, that's not where the cancer is.
True.
So I'm happy in that respect.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I was going to ask Bob, how often do you get back on that drum set back there, tear it up?
Oh, on occasion. There's not a lot of call for it these days. I don't write as many ditties as I used to, but that's I used to write stuff here and play it on the air many years ago.
Do you still write things for the show?
Oh, I write silly stuff for myself, but
okay. I didn't know if you...
last time I was on, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I did thing, and I wrote about Die Hard being a Christmas song.
I still contest.
It's a Christmas movie. So
that's right. It takes place during Christmas. It doesn't matter if it's a Christmas theme. It's during Christmas.
I agree.
Good. I've got Bob's vote. So
yeah,
anybody
I remember
else that argues?
conversation, Sam. Yeah.
Well,
yes, you got Bob.
And I'm looking
Taggart.
around, your area looks a little different than it did on the show. Now, are you still collecting large items, or was that just kind of
I have
something
a
you
few
did there?
I still have some of the large items here in my little studio, but they aren't in camera view right now. Yeah, hold on, I'll get you. I do have my pick.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Guitar pick that won't stop. So I still have the big stuff.
That's great. So I want to talk a little bit about the construct of Bob and Tom. So while you were on there, I heard a couple of different times that on the show you guys said that you guys didn't hang out a lot outside of the show. Is that is that accurate?
That's very true. That's very true. We all live our own lives, and we all gather each day, and they're in that studio. We're the best buddies you could ever have. But then when the show is over, you go about doing other things, living life, and hopefully writing some comedy about what you experience. If all of us experience the same thing, there's not a lot of variety of comedy. It's all, we already laughed at this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's laugh again. So the key was to get into that room and make everybody else laugh. So it was a genuine laugh.
Mm-hmm.
That was my goal, to get in there and make Tom spit his coffee out. That's all I wanted to do every morning.
How many times did it happen?
A couple times, but Tom did the same to me. It was make me laugh, and don't share what we've written with each other until it airs on the show. And it was all genuine laughter. It was wonderful. It was so much fun every morning going, I have this great joke and I know Tom's going to piss himself. And
Well, and I think
that was my goal every day.
That's
I think the
great.
fact that it was genuine laughter and not just, you can tell when it's forced. I mean, it was genuine
Sure.
laughter, and you guys were having as much fun as everybody that was listening to it as
Oh,
well. And
absolutely, without question. We had so much fun that it wasn't really a job. It was hanging out with my pals and just laughing, having a great day every day.
Well, and I think Matt and I were talking on the way because I was wanting to make sure that everybody was available today. And I talked about that. I wanted to ask that, and he says, "Well, I'm guessing it has to be, pretty accurate because, like, if him and I talked, or all three of us talked every day on a regular basis, just about random stuff, it'd almost be like we were searching for stuff to talk about once we hit the show."
Yeah,
or it'd be like that close-knit conversation that we were reminiscing about something we had done before. And everybody else is like, okay, we don't care.
sure. But if you're out living your own lives and you come in here, now you're sharing different experiences with each other, and it sparks conversation, it sparks laughter, it could spark sadness. It doesn't matter. It's just if you live your life together, all three of you doing the same thing every day, there's really not a whole lot to share. You already know what's going on.
Excuse me. Yeah. And it doesn't take away the fact that I love both of these gentlemen like they're my brothers. But I think
Right.
the fact that we don't necessarily talk about every single thing that we go through when we share it, then if it's funny, like me pulling my groin trying to put in an above ground pool a couple months ago, that was funny. It hurt like hell, but it was funny.
It's funny unless you're pulling your groin on
Yeah.
the diving board.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I know.
All right.
Speaking of injuries,
All right.
Sam, you had one of those that
Oh,
you wanted to
yes.
ask him about as well.
I don't normally. Well, I'll take that back. As long as it's not me, I will chuckle. But one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and it involved you on your guys' albums, was the time where you hit your head. And it was
That's probably one of the, yeah, it was genuine. It was real. It was shocking because we were I was at a stand-up desk where I ran all the controls in the studio. And I dropped a cart, I don't know which one, and it fell down underneath, and I picked it up thinking I had cleared the edge of the desk and came up full blast and just smacked my head as hard as I could. And if you ever hear a replay of that, you can tell that Tom is extremely concerned with my injury because of the amount of laughter that it was funny, but it did hurt like hell, and I believe I cussed on the air.
You did. Well, it beeped. It was beeped, but
unconsciously, it just came out. But I mean, when you bang your head like that, or hit your hand or your thumb with a hammer, it's an automatic cuss. I mean,
you get an automatic, pardon for that.
There have been studies that it does help with pain,
even if it's on live national radio.
Well, and then Pat was in for Christy at the time, and she started laughing, saying, "Gosh, Bob, did that hurt?" And you're like, "Shut up, that really hurt."
It did hurt. It hurt a lot. But yeah, that's when I get a lot of, did you really bang your head? Yes, I did.
Well, I'm proud of you for remembering it for as hard as you hit your head.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but it's very well. They played it back 100 times. So how do you forget that?
Right. Well, I guess you've got evidence, audio evidence of it happening.
Yes.
I just got to ask, was there anybody that ever showed up and, was there and you just kind of were starstruck, just that guest that you were just like, this person's really here on our show?
I got the most starstruck I've ever been. I was asked to interview Paul McCartney at then Conseco Fieldhouse when he was doing a show there. I got a phone call from our program director, and he goes, "Hey, Bob, would you like to interview Paul McCartney?" Hell yeah.
Yeah.
When and where? He goes, "This afternoon at 3:00. Be at Conseco Fieldhouse." And I made it there. They whipped me backstage, and I was stunned that I was in this room with one of the most famous people in the world doing a one-on-one with him. And it was that I was totally starstruck there. The other one was Dolly Parton.
I could see both of those
yeah.
for different reasons, maybe, but yeah, I could totally
See both of those. Oh,
Yeah.
both of those
Oh,
guests,
yeah.
those
Yes.
interviews.
Yes.
Both guests.
Oh,
yeah.
I must have frozen.
Very big
Huge
guess. Very big guess.
Huge.
Have you? I don't necessarily want names necessarily, unless you feel like giving names. How many times did you run into a person that came into studio that was just absolutely a turd of a hangout or an interview?
We only had you know what, we didn't have that many bad guests, and the one guy I remember, I don't remember his name.
Okay.
He was a comedian magician.
Ooh, that's hard for radio, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. But usually, if you have a magician, he's got some jokes. This guy had nothing.
Yeah.
So we're trying to pull, we're trying to pull something out of this guy, and we're getting nothing. And it's all of a sudden it comes to a commercial break, and Tom goes, "Is there anything we can ask you about that we can chat about?" And he goes, "Yeah, I performed for the Queen." Really? Okay, well, let's talk about that. Well, we come back from the break and we introduce this guy, and Tom goes, "So, you know what? I understand that you performed for Queen Elizabeth." And he goes, "Yes, I did."
Oh, okay.
That
was it. That was it.
No story, no nothing. And it was like, okay, well, I don't know if we were playing. We did something, played a bit or something, and then shuffled him out. It was just, that's the one I remember as horrible. Everyone else, I don't think we've really had a bad interview.
Well, that's one of those that you're like, come on, we just set that up on a tee for you. All you have to do is talk about work, doing it for the.
I know.
Yes, I did.
Know.
Just
Yes,
tell
I
us,
did.
Tell us what you did.
All right.
Can you tell us the tricks? I don't care. Just talk about
that one sticks out in my mind, and I don't know why, but it was just horrible. And
it. I
everyone
can understand.
Yeah, but everyone else, they saw that we were having fun, and they joined in on the fun, and that, I think that's one of the great things of the chemistry that we had. It made everybody want to be part of it and smile and laugh with us, and it was. I think that's what made us successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
now
with this, go ahead, Matt.
Richey. Oh, I was going to say,
Alright.
I've always been kind of curious about on and off the air. I mean, you seem like a pretty close to what, you were on the show. I mean, is everybody pretty much just a version of themselves, or is it, a lot of people doing characters, or is it?
Well, I think a lot of people think Tom's an ass bag. And
there's a song about it.
Yeah,
I know. It is a song. But Tom is actually one of the most gracious, wonderful human beings you'll ever meet. He's a great, great gentleman, and I was proud to call him partner for 35 years. And he's still a good man, and that would probably be the only thing. Everyone else is pretty much what you get. I mean, Christy, Chick, everybody they're just genuine people, and I love working with them every morning. And I think they are loved by millions as well, and they are what you get. I mean, they are great, great people.
So once you came back, or once you retired, once you started to be, you'd be going in to the show. How hard was it to get used to that? Was it really easy? Like, oh, I don't have to go to indoor, or was it you were still waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning because your body had just woke up at that time every day?
No, I changed my body the day after I retired.
Really?
We stayed up till, I don't know, 3 a.m. watching movies, slept in, and I haven't, I think we stay up till 1 or 2 a.m. now, and
Wow.
watching Scandinavian mystery shows. It's, it was an easy transition. The toughest part is training your body to wake up at 4 a.m. after you're used to, working swing shift.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the toughest part. Getting back to being a night owl is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I it just figured after 30 plus years of doing that every morning, and getting up at that time every morning, that your body would just eventually be like, okay, it's time to get up. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked on the weekends when all right, we have the weekend off, and then your eyes fly open at 4:30, and I was like, now what do I do? And you're up.
Right.
But
Right.
and the toughest part about doing morning radio is there's no nightlife. I mean, a lot of places that would do rock and you wanted to go see a live band, it wouldn't start till 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to a club like the Vogue or a Patio or something like that, they all started late and there was no way we could stay up and watch them. That was what sucked the most. You'd have these guys as guests on the show, but you couldn't make it to their show. So that was one of the drawbacks of mornings, but it was all right.
Sure paid the
I got to
bills
be
though,
with a lot of
didn't it?
great people. Yeah, I did. Paid the bills all right.
What with the success of the show, what has been, I guess, your favorite experience coming off of that, besides getting to be around all the good people and the great guests? But what's a good experience that you've been able to do because of that?
And I don't know. I guess the show opened up all kinds of doors for us. I can't remember anything in particular, but meeting some of the most famous people in the world and finding out that they're just humans like us, and they're genuine people who have a talent, and they do everything we do. They just sadly, a lot of them have cameras in their face when they do it. That's the beautiful thing about radio. You don't have that. So
until right at the end, right before you retired, you started going on television too,
which I didn't care for that much. I still believe that radio is a medium that should be listened to, not watched.
Yeah. Well, and I love, I'm a Cubs fan. I love baseball, and I will watch a game if it's on, but like when they got the marquee channel to where 90% of their baseball, I don't pay for the marquee channel. I pay for the at-bat app where I can listen to all the radio. I can listen to Pat Hughes every game. I would much rather do that because I can be doing something in my shop, in here, whatever, because I can still take it in and listen to everything and understand. And Pat Hughes is one of, him and Vin Scully are the two that I absolutely loved growing up.
Yeah.
Vin Scully was the tail end of his career basically, but they would tell stories and and ball one outside, and then they go right back to the story that they were telling. And that's why I like the radio aspect of baseball, because if I've got to watch it, or if it's on TV, I've got to sit there and watch, because they don't tell you what's going on. They just kind of say, oh, that's a ball outside, but they don't really get into it.
Right. I agree. I love the media of radio, and always will. You can paint any picture with radio, and television, you're stuck with what they show you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And now are you a Reds fan? Is that?
I am a Dodger fan first. My born and raised in Los Angeles. My dad worked for the Dodgers and started as an usher at the Coliseum in 1958 when the Dodgers moved there. They played at the LA Coliseum for 4 years while they built Dodger Stadium. And my dad worked for them for 25 years, and I got to go to a lot of ball games. And then turned out that one of our big fans was Marty Brennaman, and another big fan was Johnny Bench. And they called and invited me to come to a few things, and I was stunned that you don't realize who you reach in radio. I only saw Chick, Christie, and Tom in the studio, and those are the people I were talking to. You don't realize who's actually listening in on your conversation, and there's a lot of great people who happen to be in earshot of our show. And Brenneman was one of them, and Bench the other, and we became great friends. And I became kind of a Reds fan. Well, they were part of the team. Johnny obviously still part of the team, as he's a great spokesman for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty, same thing. He's a great human being, and I still hang out.
Was that me or?
Out with Marty. Just got it the other day, and it was it's cool. They're great people, and it was fun to follow the Reds along with them.
Now, when you go to a Reds game, do you wear the Dodger hat?
No, I actually wear a Reds hat that they gave me. So, but I do have a red LA hat that I do wear on
Okay.
occasion.
Okay.
Now, do you go to Reds Dodgers games at all? And if
I've
so,
not been able to. For some reason, every time they play, I'm not available to go. But I've been to a lot of great games. I've been been to a lot of the opening days, which are a blast.
oh, it's an
There's nothing
event.
better than going. Excuse me. Nothing better than going to Cincinnati and watching how a city gets involved in that opening day. The city shuts down, and it's all about the Reds that day. It's something to see.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good they're projected to be. Opening day is all about the Reds. I mean, I'll
It
give them
is.
that much.
You watch everybody at that downtown parade, and then when the parade's over, watching the whole city walk
Mm-hmm.
over to the stadium is really something to see.
Do you prefer Riverfront, or do you like Great America better?
I like Riverfront was horrible. It had no air movement in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Great America Ballpark is perfect sized ballpark, and it's a great place to watch a ball game.
Well, and the backdrop is amazingly beautiful, you know, on
Yep.
the right days. It's just a
There is,
really
really
great
is.
backdrop. One other place, and I don't know if you've had a chance to get there. I live within about 4 hours now of PNC in Pittsburgh. That is a really nice park to watch a game too.
Nope, I've
Because
never been there.
The backdrop is beautiful. You know, you've got the big yellow bridges in the background and everything. It's a really cool park too.
Cool.
If you ever get the chance to go, that's a place that's not a bad place to go.
So with
I
the
hope I
retirement,
have that chance someday.
Yeah.
with the retirement,
What's that?
Bob, what are some things that with the retirement that you're in
Oh, now he
now?
froze.
What are some things that you are enjoying doing?
My wife and I enjoy traveling the country. We've been since retired in 2015. We have an Airstream trailer that we drag around the country, and we have actually camped in all 48 of the contiguous states. So we've been on the road a lot. I've seen a lot of great stuff. America is a beautiful country that I honestly believe 90% of the people will never see.
Yeah.
It is really something. We have some spectacular landscapes that we are enjoying to no end. And
How many times do you get
we
recognized at one of those campgrounds?
well, we like to camp out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
We'll
So not
take
very
that.
often then.
So yeah, but we've been to campgrounds where yes, we are recognized a lot. But when we camp, we'll go out in the middle of Utah and this wide open space and park the camper and hang out for a few days, then go someplace else. We like the isolation and the privacy of camp, and it's a lot of fun.
Do you find that you're recognized a lot by older people, or there are some younger people that still recognize you and go, "Hey, aren't you Bob?"
Mostly, yeah. It's the old guard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if you shaved your mustache, you could go anywhere.
Oh yeah, look 10 years younger, and the old guard will just say, "Where the hell's your mustache?"
That's right.
You know, the kids won't know. They won't know what's going on.
You know, it takes me back to the line from a movie that I absolutely hate because of the choreographing of the baseball play, but Angels in the Outfield, there's a kid that walks up to Tony Danza and he goes, "You used to be Mel Clark?" And he's like, "Yeah, kid, I used to be Mel Clark." I could see somebody doing that. "You used to be Bob from the Bob and Tom Show?" Yep, that's me.
Yep, I used to be. Yep. Yeah. And the only baseball movie worth watching is Sandlot. And that's all I'll say.
Yes, it's definitely the best one. I watch a good amount of them. But it always ends up just making me mad because there's something that just screws up. But the Sandlot is one of those that one of the statements somebody posted on social media somewhere, and it took the Sandlot group, the picture of the Sandlot group. It said, there's always a day that you guys played your last game together and you just didn't know it. And that's kind of like that feeling from the Sandlot is eventually it just starts going away, you know, and going away, and the group disbands slowly because time marches on. You know, you can't stop. You can't stop time.
That's very true. That's very true.
Oh, well,
That was one of the best movies. Sandlot
yeah.
was it's just such a classic movie across everything. It was just so good, man. Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
Well, and it's more than
It will
just
last
baseball.
forever.
Forever. It's one of those that's more than just baseball. Baseball's the main avenue to take all those life lessons people learn, you know, as a kid. And almost everybody that did any sort of like Sandlot type of playing baseball growing up knows exactly kind of those feelings that all those kids are going through, you know.
I agree.
It's just, yeah, it will live forever. You know.
Yes, it will.
It absolutely will. Well, Bob, this has been an absolute pleasure. We've held on to you for over an hour, and we cannot be any more gracious. At least, let's say it this way: I cannot be. I'm sure those two are absolutely in the same.
Well, Sam's just cutting it off before we just start going. Do you remember that time you did this? Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, you remember the Chris Farley bit where he's interviewing Paul McCartney? He goes,
"Oh yeah,
remember that time when you were with the Beatles? Yeah, it was awesome." Bob Kevoian, the absolute pleasure. Can you talk a little bit about you've got a website for your podcast? Kind of give the name out so our listeners can.
It is. You go to the website is thebobandcancershow.com, and that's what it'll lead you to our first 6 episodes. We'll do 2 more episodes. What I have planned. One after I have a scan on the 21st, and then the final one will be after my surgery to wrap it all up. And that, it's a limited series. I'm not going to do a podcast over and over again because I've retired from this kind of stuff. and that's just, I figure I want to tell the story and then let the story stay that way.
Well, and you can reach out to him and leave your well wishes and memories and things like that on the website as well, and leave him comments and stuff. And he I will attest, he does read every message. It says after you submit, I read every message, and I will attest that's where I put
honest to God, I think we've had well over 700 plus, and we have read every message. We just don't have the chance to reply to every message. But yes, I've read every single email that's come our way, and it's amazing how many wonderful people there are out there, and we thank them for our well wishes.
Well, I can tell you, I had a couple of friends. My buddy Jared, he said, "Can you request Bob say hi, Jared?"
Sure. Hi, Jared. You suck.
Yes.
Perfect. That's perfect.
And my uncle wanted me to tell you.
Can you cut that out so Jared could use that as a ringtone?
Oh yeah, I will cut it out and send that to him, but he'll listen to the show as well, so he'll get it twice. But my uncle also wanted me to tell you that he's praying for you. He's going through the same battle with cancer, but he knows that the power of prayer is very strong, and he wanted you to know that you've got him on your side.
Our best wishes to him, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, as anyone who's suffering from this. Hopefully they have a fast, speedy recovery and get through and move on with your life.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, anything else to say to Bob before we bid him adieu?
Just thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
My pleasure. And be sure to tell Greg Warren hello the next time you guys speak with him.
Yeah, we'll do. Bob, I want you to know that I'm praying for you just as much as anybody else that I've met, and you mean a lot to me personally, because like I said, in my life, you didn't know me, but I knew you, and I listened to you, grew up listening to you in my formidable years of becoming an adult, and so it's one of those that it's I don't know if that's good or bad, but I appreciate what part you played, in bringing me so much laughter over the years and stuff. So I'm definitely going to be praying for you that you know that God's with you, and he'll be with you the whole way through. And it's been an absolute honor, pleasure, and I've had a blast being able to get to know you a little bit deeper as well.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and the best to you guys. Thanks for inviting me on. I truly enjoyed this.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, we wrap up probably one of my utmost favorite episodes that we've had to this day.
I'm just gonna go ahead and check this one off the bucket list right there, Sam.
Well, loyal loungers, we love you. We appreciate you. And we're so happy to be able to share these conversations that we have with great people such as the great Bob Kevoian and so many others. And the only thing you need to do is be there to grab a listen.
Grab a listen.
Grab a listen. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Loyal loungers, thank you for listening. We love you and we appreciate you. We do this for you. If you could do us a favor, leave us a review on whatever platform you grab a listen. This will let us know what you love and what might need to be retired. And always remember to sit back, relax, and grab a listen.